Hey everyone, welcome 8th graders. I am so excited for today's explainer because we're going on a seriously cool journey. We're going to explore this crazy invisible energy that is literally buzzing all around you right this very second, moving at the actual speed of light. Today, we're talking about something called the electromagnetic spectrum. I know it sounds like a super complex scientific term, right? But don't worry, we're going to unpack it together and you'll see exactly how this completely unseen force shapes pretty much every single part of your daily life.
But before we even touch the complex science of wavelengths and frequencies and all of that, let's ground ourselves in a really foundational truth. Genesis 1:3 says, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Light isn't just some random physical phenomenon, right? It's this profound expression of God's amazing creativity. It carries truth, it carries direction, and it carries life itself. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we uncover how perfectly designed this whole invisible world really is.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the invisible energy around you, define what the spectrum actually is, look at how we use these waves every day, do a quick test of your knowledge, and finally, connect all of this to education, morality, and peace. All right, part 1, the invisible energy around you. Let's discover these forces moving at the speed of light. Moving right along to part 2, what exactly is the spectrum? Let's get into the science of these invisible waves. Okay, I want you to imagine for just a second that you had a superpower and you could suddenly see all the invisible forces carrying energy through the air right now. Your room would literally be glowing. There would be signals bouncing back and forth everywhere. Well, the electromagnetic spectrum is simply that fast range of energy waves. And the absolute most important rule to remember here, they are all moving at the speed of light, carrying energy from point A to point B incredibly fast. So whether it's the light hitting your eyes right now or a signal shooting up to a satellite out in space, it's all part of the exact same invisible family. Now, understanding how these waves actually work basically comes down to one crucial rule. The spectrum is massive, right? And it spans between two huge extremes. On one end, you've got radio waves. These have the absolute longest wavelengths, like some are literally as tall as mountains. And because they're so incredibly stretched out, they actually carry the lowest amount of energy. But then, on the exact opposite end, we have gamma rays. These guys have the absolute shortest wavelengths. They're packed super tightly together, which means they carry the highest energy. It's a total inverse relationship. Longer wave means lower energy, shorter wave means higher energy. Okay, part 3, how we use energy waves. Basically, where does the spectrum show up in your daily life? The wild thing is, we use the lower energy side of this spectrum constantly, usually without even thinking about it. Radio waves, those huge low-energy waves we just talked about, are broadcasting signals to your TVs and your cell phones literally every single day. Next up on the spectrum are microwaves, and yes, that is exactly like the one in your kitchen heating up your leftover pizza. We actually harness these specific, slightly more energetic waves to cook our food fast. Then we get to infrared waves. We can't see them with our naked eyes, but night vision cameras can detect them to see the heat radiating off objects when it's totally dark. So let's see how this builds as we move into the really high energy territory. Right after infrared, we hit visible light. And just above that, things start getting seriously powerful. We've got ultraviolet, or UV rays. Coming straight from the sun, these actually pack enough energy to give you a sunburn. Then we hit X-rays. These are high-frequency waves carrying so much energy they pass right through your soft tissue. That's how doctors safely see your bones. And at the very, very top, those super high-energy gamma rays. They pack so much immense power, we actually use them in medicine to specifically target and destroy cancer cells. Let's just zoom in on visible light for a second. Out of this massive cosmic electromagnetic spectrum, this tiny, tiny little sliver is the exact and actually the only part that human eyes are perfectly designed to detect. It's what gives us the beautiful rainbow of colors we get to experience in the world. And guess what? Even within that little rainbow, the rules still apply. Red light has the longest wavelength out of the colors, while violet has the shortest. All right, part 4, testing your spectrum knowledge. Let's see what you've mastered so far. Let's lock in some of these facts. Question 1. Can you name 3 parts of the electromagnetic spectrum? I'll give you a second. Let's lock in some of these facts. Question 1. Can you name 3 parts of the electromagnetic spectrum? I'll give you a second. Got 'em? Okay. If you thought of, say, radio waves, visible light, or X-rays, boom, you totally nailed it. You really just need to know any 3 of them to grasp how wonderfully vast this spectrum is. Question 2. Which type of wave has the most energy? Think back to our rule about wavelengths. Remember, the shortest, most tightly packed waves carry the highest energy. So, the answer is gamma rays. For sure, they pack the ultimate punch on the entire spectrum. On to question 3. What kind of wave is used in cell phones? Think about those devices right in your pockets that rely on long-distance broadcasting. Yep, the answer is radio waves. Literally every single time you send a text or make a call, you are tapping right into that invisible spectrum. Question 4. Why is visible light important to humans? Well, scientifically, it's literally the only part our eyes can detect, right? Which allows us to safely navigate our environment. But actually, beyond just seeing physical obstacles, visible light reveals truth and direction. And honestly, that's a pretty great metaphor for how we navigate life, too. And that brings us to our final review question. How does Genesis 1:3 relate to the electromagnetic spectrum? Let there be light. When we step back and really look at the immense scale of this invisible design, from mountain-sized radio waves down to microscopic gamma rays, and how perfectly it allows us to communicate and see and heal, you can't help but recognize it as this brilliant, deeply intentional example of God's powerful creativity. Finally, Part 5, Education, Morality, and Peace. This is the core Hero Mart Academy philosophy. We have a saying, education without morality will hurt. Being smart doesn't prevent bad choices that cause pain. And this is exactly why we intertwine biblical morality with your education here. Because think about it. What is the actual point of memorizing the entire electromagnetic spectrum or having all the raw intelligence in the world if you're just going to use it to make choices that hurt yourself and others? Just as physical light gives us physical direction so we don't trip and fall in the dark, moral light gives our lives true, lasting direction. Which leads us perfectly to this awesome promise found in Romans 8:6-7. To set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. When you purposefully keep your mind spiritual and you align your smarts with God's design, the result is life. It's true peace of mind. You actually get to have a brilliant, highly educated mind that is completely guarded by a deep peace. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. You now understand the invisible light buzzing all around you, but what about the light inside you? How are you going to use your growing mind and your spiritual mindset to bring true peace to your own life and to the world around you? Keep seeking the light, you guys. I'll catch you in the next explainer.